Serious, people that have willingly engaged in incest. Why? Has your life changed because of it?
Like and subscribe, or else these'll be in your bed tonight.
Last year's night, I started to engage sexually with my first cousin. She was 16. I was 17, male. At first, we just made out. But it slowly progressed to hand jobs from her and fingering from me. Soon, she was giving me BJS and well, we wanted to do more but we couldn't find a way to do it without getting noticed. This year, though, we worked it out and managed to do it. We did it 2 times while we were drunk. I can't say I disliked it or I feel guilty or anything. It is amazing. We are both horny as frick. She's hot and thinks I'm hot as well. I only see her once or twice a year. But I always look forward to it. I don't give a shit. Does this count? My third cousin had an obsession with anal sex and had me regularly frick her in the ass. We didn't even know we were related at first. We were friends at the time who had a talk about sex and decided to frick for fun. But after we found out, though surprised, we regularly made trips to O-Ring Plowtown. Still fantasize about dad ass to this day. I'm counting step siblings. It just sort of happened. Our parents got married and a couple years later we still hadn't developed a family bond of any sort. Still haven't. It started when a friend was over and had a huge crush on me. So they crash in on me when I'm just relaxing in the hot tub. We also had a pool and it was late fall so it was super cold. So a dare happened to switch back and forth between the pool and hot tub. This started a game of truth or dare and things got a bit sexual. Stuff like being naked in the bubbles of the hot tub but we couldn't see anything. Then stuff like sitting on my lap and whatnot. Nothing more happened that night but a couple days later we are both in the hot tub and start daring again. Things start to go the way they went before but again nothing. My mom and her dad went to sleep super early so we could really do this whenever. The dare started happening out of the hot tub and in the woods and from there it began to escalate. Double quote. I dare you to jerk off. Or, I dare you to take all your clothes off. It just kept escalating until we just sort of grinded on each other. We were both 13, until we both came. That happened a few more times because neither of us could get a condom and then I stayed at my dad's all summer and we stopped doing that stuff. We never mentioned it to anybody and as far as each of us know the other has forgotten all about it. TL. DR it escalated slowly. I had sex with my cousin when we were both 17. It was consensual and there were never any guilty feelings from either side. We only had sex the one time but I think it was because we both fell into long-term relationships shortly after we slept together. Our relationship never changed after we slept together. This was over 20 years ago and we still talk on a pretty regular basis with no weirdness. Okay, so 2 years ago-ish. My best friend hooked me up with her friend who was in a lot of my classes so I knew her a bit well since I basically knew everyone. We all were planning a double date basically. And that was in like 2 weeks. The 3 of us hung out numerous times and she'd always try to hold my hand or come onto me. I always jerked away because it always felt weird and I had no idea why. I just figured it's because I'm awkward and never really been in a relationship. This kept going and I just decided to end it because I wasn't comfortable. A week later she's taking pictures of my other cousin on my dad's side who I don't know that well because he kind of abandoned my mom and I and is in and out of jail all the time. Turns out, she knew the whole time we were cousins and thought I knew too. I guess my weird instincts were right. Welcome to Indiana. Also sorry for fricked up paragraphs. On mobile and still getting used to it. When I first read this I thought you meant actually getting engaged to someone you're related to. But keeping it serious. I made out with my cousin once when I was like 5. She was like 11 or something. Nothing ever happened with it. Also, I told my younger brother a few months ago and he said she did the same thing to him so there's also that. I've never actually engaged in incest. But got pretty close obliviously. I was maybe 12. Younger. Like. I was a child. and we'd usually go further south to my grandma's house to stay a couple of weeks while my parents did whatever they did. This was my grandmother on my dad's side of the family. So rednecks. I have a cousin who used to live next to my grandma's house, and she'd come over occasionally to play with us. She was a couple of years older, in high school. She would always try to wrestle with me and take me into the woods for a bedroom alone. I was completely oblivious to what she was trying to do and wouldn't go into the woods with her because I was afraid of bobcats and snakes. She never got to do anything to me because my grandma is awesome and a pretty keen lady, even to this day. Though, when we wrestled she usually got to pin me in an awkward position that I'd feel uncomfortable in. If I would have known what she was going for, I honestly might have accepted it, maybe a kiss at most, out of curiosity. But I'd definitely end up regretting it. I never thought I would get to share this. I didn't do it, but I have a story regarding this. A day after our prom ended, many of our classmates, imagine 2/5 of the batch, met the next day at a friend's home. The house was quite big and we partied hard until we reached the bed of the night. We all were playing a game where we would draw out 2 names from the bowl and both of them had to make out inside a spare guest room, and most of this cases ended up full-blown sex. This was the last round we played. Most of us were drunk. We pulled out 2 names. They turn out to be brother and sister. Now, being big idiots and pretty much assholes, we started to chant for them to make out and started to push them into the guest room. We were just joking and they just played along with it. So we locked them in and waited 5 to 10 minutes, then opened the door to end the round. We expected them to be angry and just sitting there to open the door. Instead, the brother was balls deep, instead her sister. It was the most gross thing you could ever see in your lifetime. Both of them quickly ran out of the house. Later we came to know that it was a first time event and heat of the moment situation. I met a friend last year who told me nobody their family knows nothing happened between them and it's turned very awkward between them. My wife's family has multi-generational incest, to the point that she only has 3 sets of great-grandparents. There are no signs of problems in her generation, and they all married way outside the family tree. I lost my virginity to my foster sister when we were 5 or 6. My older brother explained the mechanics of it, so we tried. I won't go into pervy details. It was not traumatic to me. Can't speak for her. She was already in foster care though. I doubt I was the trauma in her life. This was the early 70s. No idea where she is today. I let my cousin frick me from the age of about 12 until we were both 17. We were always playmates as babies, and when we started going through puberty I guess he saw how lonely I was and we were both horny. It was super awkward the first time it happened, but after it started it was a constant nightly thing when we were together. I am thankful for the experience because it was hard growing up an only child and he made it a little easier. Nobody will ever read this, but whatever. From the age of 14. My older sister 16 and I had to share a bed. We weren't rich. 2-bedroom house with 4 of us. Just after I joined secondary school my sister started to disturb at me when I was asleep. Started off with basic things like her feeling my DCK while I was asleep, putting her hands down my trousers and just feeling my DCK, etc. Of course she thought I was sleeping. This went on for about 7-8 months until one day we got into a fight and I told her I'll tell my dad what she does. She denied it. At that point it kinda stopped. Then I started to try and initiate it by touching her. Cut the long story short, it became normal for us and we ended up giving each other oral sex until she moved out at 22. We're very touchy-feely with each other. We never had sex, but I always fantasize about us now. I can't freaking stop it. I had a sexual relationship with my cousin M for a few years. It started when I was 14 and he was 16. He stayed at my house for a week and we tried to have sex, but I was scared so we just did oral and I got fingered. He left the top of a condom wrapper out in the open and we almost got caught. Then for the next few years up until we were about 17 and 19 we would SXT. Make out. And if we could visit overnight and not just for a few hours, we would have sex. I'd always felt lust towards him, and at 12 and 14 we did almost have an encounter in a pool. We went by ourselves and he said he couldn't swim, so he stayed pretty much on each other the entire time we were in there. My aunt let us share a bed that night and we cuddled. I don't feel bad or gross now, but we don't talk. He wanted a relationship, but we would have had to keep it a secret, and I've always wanted kids, and I know having kids with my first cousin could cause major issues. I had to break it off. I upset him and I feel guilty about it, but now it seems like he moved on just fine. I'm pretty sure my sister and dad had an incestuous relationship. They were obsessed with each other. She was like his house pet. She never had a relationship or a job. She just lived in the condo he bought her and got fat. She died 2 years ago and he still keeps her place the same as it was. Slept with my long lost half sister. At the time I thought we were in love. I confessed everything to the police. Ended up on the sex offenders register and completely ruined my life. That was 10 years ago. I still haven't and expect I won't ever recover. Yes. My brother and I engage in it every day. We've been together for 6 years and have 2 kids. It started because I was horny and just wanted to get laid. Turned into a relationship. My life changed a lot because of it. All the plans I had for after high school got thrown out the window. But it was worth it. My cousin and I. She's a 22-YO girl. I'm a 26-YO guy. Started texting. She's had a crush on me since we were tiny. I didn't think she was attractive until she was around 18. But she clearly has liked me for as long as we've been alive. The texting quickly escalated to sexting and flirting all the way to pictures. When we met face to face the next time at a family thing, she was with her boyfriend but totally ignored him and was all over me. It was a little awkward because we were clearly digging each other, but it seemed like her boyfriend could tell. If he wasn't there, I'm sure we would have figured out a way to smash. But nothing has happened physically between us yet. And I'll admit that the whole taboo factor has definitely made us more into it. I don't really care. It seems really convenient and I can't really ignore how strong the urge is. So yeah, that's been my experience so far.